Have you ever felt like invisible forces are rising against your life, blocking your progress and attacking your peace? Have you ever sensed that something is trying to delay your destiny and steal your joy? Today you are not here by accident. The God of Psalm 18, who thunders, breaks chains, and scatters enemies, has brought you here. So lift your heart, rise in faith, and let us pray as every evil attack is destroyed and returned to sender. I declare in the mighty name of the Lord, who is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer, that every witchcraft curse spoken against my life, my destiny, my children, my calling, and my future is shattered by divine thunder, and every secret altar raised to monitor me is consumed by holy fire, and every evil hand that has touched what belongs to me is cut off by the sword of the Lord, because the God of Psalm 18 has arisen to defend me, to surround me with his power, and to overturn every plot formed in darkness against my rising. I proclaim that the Lord is my shield, the horn of my salvation, and my strong tower. Therefore no spell, no enchantment, no ritual, no demonic projection, no ancestral covenant, no midnight attack, and no spoken curse shall prosper in my life. For the voice of the Almighty has gone forth like thunder, scattering every power that pursued me, frustrating every plan of darkness, and returning every evil work back to the sender by divine judgment. I decree that the cords of death that surrounded me, the floods of ungodliness that terrified me, and the snares of witchcraft that were set to trap my destiny are broken by the mighty hand of God. For my cry has entered his holy temple, and he has come down in power to tear apart every chain, uproot every evil root, and deliver me completely from the grip of darkness. I declare that every power that followed me through dreams, shadows, mirrors, covens, and secret places is overtaken by the chariots of the Lord, and their arrows of affliction, sickness, confusion, delay, and shame are returned sevenfold to sender. For the Lord my God has risen in anger against those who seek my harm. I proclaim that the Lord has drawn me out of deep waters. Therefore, every marine spirit, blood covenant, ritual chain, and ancestral altar pulling me backward is broken now, and every evil force enforcing stagnation, rejection, and delay is destroyed by the fire of the Most High, who sets my feet upon solid ground. I decree that the Lord has set my feet in a large place, therefore no cage of witchcraft, no prison of darkness, no circle of limitation, no evil wall, and no satanic boundary shall hold me again. For the God who enlarges my territory has broken every gate that stood against my progress. I declare that the Lord rewards me according to his righteousness. Therefore, every accusation raised against me in the spirit realm is silenced. Every verdict spoken against my name is overturned, and every curse released through jealousy, hatred, or manipulation is reversed by divine authority. I proclaim that the light of the Lord shines in my darkness. Therefore, every shadow power, every monitoring eye, every familiar spirit watching my steps is blinded and destroyed, and every hidden work of the enemy is exposed and judged by the fire of truth. I decree that the Lord lives and is exalted. Therefore, every enemy that rises against me is scattered. Every strong man assigned to delay my testimony is bound, and every voice speaking defeat over my life is silenced by the power of the living God. I declare that the Lord has given me victory over all my adversaries. Therefore, every evil word, every witchcraft assignment, every spoken curse, and every demonic decree sent against me returns to sender with fire. And I stand in the triumph of the God who fights for me forever. I declare that the earth shakes and trembles at the presence of the Lord my God. Therefore, every witchcraft altar, demonic foundation, and evil throne that has been standing against my life is collapsing now by divine earthquake. And every power rooted in darkness that has vowed to block my destiny is being uprooted by the authority of the God who rides upon the heavens for my defense. I proclaim that smoke goes up from his nostrils, and devouring fire comes from his mouth. Therefore, every curse spoken in secret places, every spell released in covens, every incantation whispered in darkness, and every evil word assigned to my name is consumed before it can reach me, and the fire of the Lord returns it back to the sender. I decree that the heavens bow as my God comes down. Therefore, every demonic throne, territorial power, ancestral ruler, and satanic authority positioned over my destiny is pulled down, disgraced, and scattered by the power of the Most High who reigns forever. I declare that the Lord rides upon the cherub and flies. Therefore, every spiritual surveillance network, monitoring mirror, dream tracker, and familiar spirit assigned to watch my rising is scattered in confusion, and blinded by the glory of God, I proclaim that he makes darkness his secret place. Therefore, every hidden work of the enemy, every buried charm, every secret covenant, and every underground altar enforcing affliction, delay, and shame is exposed and judged by holy fire. I decree that hailstones and coals of fire fall upon my enemies. Therefore, every witchcraft gathering, midnight ritual, blood sacrifice, and demonic conference held to destroy me is struck with divine confusion, and their power is shattered before they can rise again. I declare that the Lord thunders from heaven, and the voice of the Most High is heard. Therefore, every demonic voice, ancestral command, and satanic instruction speaking against my destiny is silenced permanently by the thunder of the living God. I proclaim that he shoots his arrows and scatters them. Therefore, every evil arrow of sickness, failure, poverty, rejection, and sudden loss fired into my life is returned to sender with multiplied force and divine judgment. I decree that the foundations of darkness are uncovered at the rebuke of the Lord. Therefore, every hidden root of affliction, every ancestral curse, and every buried spiritual problem is exposed and destroyed by the fire of truth. I declare that my God has delivered me from my strong enemy, from those who hated me and were too strong for me. Therefore, I rise in victory. I walk in freedom, and I stand in the power of the God who fights for me. I declare by the authority of the living God who strengthens me for battle that every chain of witchcraft, every yoke of darkness, every ancestral bondage, every inherited affliction, and every spiritual shackle that has followed my bloodline from generation to generation is broken now by the mighty hand of the Lord. And I step out of every prison of limitation, backwardness, stagnation, and sorrow into the freedom purchased for me by divine power. I proclaim that every cage of darkness that has enclosed my destiny, every satanic net that was cast to capture my progress, every hidden trap set to delay my rising, and every evil boundary drawn around my life is shattered by the fire of God, and I walk boldly into the open place the Lord has prepared for me, where no power of hell can restrain me again. I decree that every yoke of oppression, heaviness, confusion, rejection, fear, failure, and shame that has weighed upon my spirit is destroyed by the anointing of the Most High, and every burden that has slowed my steps is lifted off my shoulders as I rise in divine strength and supernatural victory. I declare that every spell spoken against my name, every enchantment released against my destiny, every evil word whispered to damage my future, and every demonic decree sent to cancel my progress is nullified now, reversed by the power of God, and returned to the sender with divine fire. I proclaim that every evil dream, every satanic vision, every night projection, every spiritual manipulation, and every wicked instruction sent through the realm of darkness is canceled now by the authority of heaven, and I receive divine restoration in my mind, body, spirit, and destiny. I decree that every curse spoken against my family line, every ancestral pattern of suffering, every inherited cycle of loss, delay, and affliction, and every satanic mark placed upon my lineage is erased now by the blood of divine deliverance. and my family is released into a new season of blessing and favor. I declare that every ancestral altar, every coven altar, every marine altar, and every blood altar raised to speak against my life is consumed now by holy fire, and their voices are silenced forever as the Lord arises to defend my cause. I proclaim that every monitoring spirit, every familiar watcher, every demonic observer, and every spiritual spy assigned to track my progress is blinded, confused, and driven away by the light of the living God, and no evil eye shall follow me again. I decree that every satanic mark, seal, tag, or spiritual branding placed upon my life to identify me for destruction is erased now by divine authority, and I am marked only by the power and favor of the Most High God. I declare that every plan of darkness designed to destroy my joy, my peace, my calling, and my destiny has failed completely, and I rise in the victory of the God who has broken my chains and set me free forever. I declare by the authority of the God who answers by fire that every curse spoken over my life, every incantation released against my destiny, every spell cast in secret, every word of manipulation, every evil pronouncement, and every satanic decree sent to destroy my joy, my peace, and my future is now reversed and returned to the sender with holy fire. And I stand under divine protection as every evil word boomerangs back to its source. I proclaim that every ritual performed in darkness, every sacrifice offered on evil altars, every charm planted in hidden places, every enchantment released in covens, and every blood covenant activated against my rising is now turned against its owners, and the fire of God consumes the hands that sent it, silencing their power forever. I decree that every evil arrow of sickness, confusion, delay, poverty, rejection, shame, and sudden loss that was fired into my life is now redirected by the hand of the Lord and sent back to the sender with multiplied force, and no trace of the attack shall remain in my body, my mind, or my destiny. I declare that every demonic projection, astral journey, night attack, and spiritual manipulation sent against me is intercepted by the angels of the Lord, reversed by divine authority, and returned to its source with judgment. And I walk freely in the light of God's protection. I proclaim that every evil altar speaking against my name, every satanic throne enforcing delay, every ancestral shrine releasing affliction, and every covenant of darkness assigned to control my life is consumed by holy fire, and their voices are silenced forever. I decree that every spoken curse, whispered spell, hidden vow, and demonic assignment issued against my family, my calling, my health, and my destiny is now nullified, reversed, and returned to the sender. And I stand in the victory of divine justice. I declare that every evil wind carrying affliction, sorrow, loss, and confusion into my life is turned back by the breath of the Lord, and the storm sent to destroy me now destroys the camp of the wicked. I proclaim that every satanic mirror, monitoring device, dream tracker, and spiritual observer used to watch my life is shattered by divine light, and every evil message sent through them is returned to the sender with fire. I decree that every power that dug a pit for me, laid traps in secret, and planned my downfall now falls into their own snare, and the same fire they prepared for me consumes them. I declare that every weapon formed against me has failed, every curse has been reversed, every evil assignment has been returned, and I rise in permanent victory. Through the power of the living God, I declare in the mighty name of the Lord, who is my shield and my defense, that his power surrounds me like a wall of fire. Therefore no witchcraft arrow, no spoken curse, no hidden spell, no demonic projection, no ancestral covenant, and no midnight attack shall penetrate my life, my destiny, my family, or my calling, because the Lord himself stands at my strong tower, and refuge against every storm. I proclaim that the presence of the Lord covers me day and night. Therefore, every shadow power, every evil watcher, every familiar spirit, and every monitoring force assigned to track my steps is confused, blinded, and driven away, and I walk freely under the covering of divine light and protection. I decree that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Therefore, every device of darkness, every strategy of the enemy, every plan of delay, every scheme of confusion, and every plot of destruction is dismantled by the hand of God and returned to sender with fire. I declare that every evil voice speaking against my future, my marriage, my health, my finances, and my destiny is silenced by the authority of heaven, and every word of darkness is replaced with the voice of divine victory. I proclaim that my destiny is secured in the hands of the Most High. Therefore, no curse, no enchantment, no ritual, no ancestral pattern, and no satanic agenda can cancel what God has ordained for me, and I stand firm in divine purpose. I decree that my path is clear. Therefore, every obstruction, every evil barrier, every spiritual roadblock, and every demonic gate placed to stop my progress is shattered by the power of the Lord who goes before me. I declare that my future is protected by divine authority. Therefore, every plan of darkness assigned to steal, kill, or destroy my joy and peace has failed, and I rise into the fullness of God's promises. I proclaim that my home is covered by the presence of the Lord. Therefore, no evil shall enter, no curse shall rest, no spirit of affliction shall dwell, and no power of darkness shall operate within my dwelling place. I decree that my name is redeemed. Therefore, every evil label, every demonic verdict, every spoken condemnation, and every curse attached to my identity is erased, and I walk in honor, favor, and divine restoration. I declare that my light shines and cannot be quenched. Therefore, every power of darkness assigned to dim my glory, silence my voice, or delay my rising is destroyed, and I move forward in unstoppable victory. I declare by the authority of the living God who trains my hands for war and strengthens me for battle that every enemy rising against my life, my destiny, my family, my calling, and my future is now overthrown by the power of the Lord. And every evil power that pursued me in secret places is exposed, disgraced, and scattered. Because the Lord himself has gone before me to fight my battles and secure my victory, I proclaim that those who planned my downfall, who rejoiced at my tears, and who conspired in darkness to stop my rising are now stumbling and falling before me, and the same pits they dug, the same traps they set, and the same weapons they prepared for me now turn against them by divine judgment. I decree that every power that declared my end before my time, that spoke death, failure, and shame over my destiny, is silenced permanently, and the voice of the Lord rises over me with strength, lifting me into victory, honor, and divine promotion. I declare that every strong man assigned to block my testimony, delay my breakthrough, and resist my progress is bound, cast down, and stripped of power, and I walk boldly in the triumph of the God who never loses a battle. I proclaim that the Lord fights for me on every side. Therefore, no opposition, no conspiracy, no demonic alliance, and no hidden enemy can stand against the power of God working in my life. I decree that victory is mine in every battle. Therefore, every war against my peace, my joy, my health, my finances, and my destiny has ended in my favor, and I step into a new season of triumph and celebration. I declare that my battles are won and sealed by divine authority. Therefore, no enemy can rise again, no weapon can be reforged, and no curse can be reactivated against my life. I proclaim that my joy is restored, my strength is renewed, and my peace is secured, because the God who delivered me from my enemies now fills my life with his glory and favor. I decree that my testimony shall be great. Therefore, every tongue that spoke against me shall see the goodness of the Lord, and I will stand as a living witness of divine victory. I declare that I rise above every adversary. I walk in freedom, and I live in victory forever through the power of the living God. I declare in the mighty name of the Lord, who strengthens me for battle and equips me for victory, that divine power flows through my spirit, soul, and body, and every weakness, weariness, fear, and heaviness that tried to slow me down is lifted now as the strength of the Most High rises within me to carry me into my season of triumph. I proclaim that the power of God renews me daily. Therefore, every place where I was drained, attacked, or broken is restored, and every area of my life that suffered loss is now revived by divine energy, and I rise in supernatural strength to fulfill my destiny. I decree that the fire of God surrounds me like a shield. Therefore, every demonic force, every witchcraft assignment, every spiritual opposition, and every hidden enemy is pushed back and defeated by the authority of the living God working in my life. I declare that the hand of the Lord lifts me from every low place, every pit of delay, every valley of sorrow, and every place of limitation. And he sets me on high above every power that once tried to bring me down. I proclaim that the glory of the Lord covers me. Therefore no shame, no reproach, no disgrace, and no evil label shall rest upon my life again. And I walk boldly in divine honor and favor. I decree that the light of God leads me. Therefore every path of confusion, every wrong direction, every trap of darkness, and every road of failure is removed, and I walk in clarity, wisdom, and divine guidance. I declare that the peace of God fills my heart and mind. Therefore, every storm, every fear, every anxiety, and every heaviness is calmed, and I rest in the assurance of divine victory. I proclaim that the favor of God crowns me. Therefore, doors of opportunity open before me, helpers rise for me, and divine connections locate me as I move into my appointed season. I decree that the mercy of the Lord shields me. Therefore, every judgment of darkness, every accusation, and every sentence issued against my destiny is canceled, and I walk in divine protection. I declare that the grace of God sustains me. Therefore, no power can stop me, no force can break me, and no enemy can overcome me, as I stand in unshakable victory through the living God. I declare by the authority of the living God that deliverance is released over my life now, and every chain of witchcraft, every yoke of oppression, every hidden bondage, and every spiritual prison holding my destiny captive is shattered by the fire of the Holy One. As I step boldly into freedom, restoration, and divine release, I proclaim that the power of God breaks every limitation. Therefore, every door of delay, every wall of resistance, every spiritual barrier, and every satanic obstruction standing against my progress is torn down by divine strength. And I walk into the open place the Lord has prepared for me. I decree that release flows into every area of my life. Therefore, every sorrow, every loss, every disappointment, and every season of waiting is now replaced with joy, laughter, and fulfillment by the hand of the Lord. I declare that restoration is established in my spirit, soul, body, and destiny. Therefore, every place where I was broken, attacked, or robbed is healed and rebuilt by divine power, and I rise in wholeness and strength. I proclaim that healing flows through me now. Therefore, every sickness, every affliction, every weakness, and every infirmity that entered through witchcraft, fear, or spiritual attack is removed by the power of God. I decree that breakthrough is released. Therefore, every closed door, every delayed promise, every stalled blessing, and every blocked opportunity is opened by divine authority. And I step into new dimensions of favor and success. I declare that victory is mine now. Therefore, every battle against my peace, my joy, my family, and my destiny has ended in my favor, and I stand in triumph by the power of the living God. I proclaim that joy fills my heart. Therefore, every spirit of heaviness, sadness, discouragement, and despair is lifted, and I walk in the gladness of divine freedom. I decree that peace rests upon me. Therefore, every storm, every fear, every anxiety, and every disturbance is silenced, and I remain the calm assurance of God's presence. I declare that the light of God shines upon me. Therefore, every shadow of darkness, every hidden fear, and every secret attack is exposed and removed, and I walk forward in clarity and victory. I declare by the authority of the Most High God that every enemy who rose in secret to fight my destiny, who spoke against my rising, and who plotted in darkness to stop my progress is now put to shame, disgraced and confounded by divine judgment. And the power of the Lord rises over me to overturn every wicked plan formed against my life. I proclaim that those who pursued me with hatred, jealousy, and bitterness are now scattered in confusion, and every evil alliance, demonic gathering, and a wicked counsel formed to destroy me is broken apart by the thunder of God, and their voices are silenced forever. I decree that every hidden enemy who smiled in my face but planned my downfall is now exposed by the light of God, and every secret trap, hidden net, and wicked scheme prepared for me is revealed and destroyed by divine fire. I declare that those who dug pits for me, laid snares in my path, and prepared traps for my feet now fall into their own devices, and the same destruction they planned for me returns upon their own heads by the hand of the Lord. I proclaim that every evil plan formed against my health, my family, my finances, and my destiny fails completely, and the Lord turns every curse into a testimony of victory in my life. I decree that every word spoken against me in envy, anger, and malice is reversed now, and the same voice that spoke evil is silenced by the authority of heaven. As God rises to defend my cause, I declare that every power enforcing witchcraft, monitoring my steps, and speaking against my destiny is stripped of strength, and their altars are destroyed by holy fire, and they shall never rise again. I proclaim that every work of darkness ends now, every agenda of evil is canceled, and every assignment sent to frustrate my progress is scattered by divine power. I decree that my enemies are ashamed and driven back, and the Lord surrounds me with his glory and protection, lifting me into honor and victory. I declare that the Lord has fought for me, delivered me, and exalted me. Therefore I stand in triumph, peace, and everlasting victory. I declare by the authority of the Most High God that I am covered by his presence, surrounded by his glory, and hidden under the shadow of his wings. Therefore no witchcraft attack, no demonic arrow, no hidden spell, no spoken curse, and no evil assignment can penetrate my life, my destiny, my family, or my calling, because the Lord himself stands as a wall of fire around me. I proclaim that the wings of the Almighty surround me day and night. Therefore, every force of darkness seeking access to my life is blocked, and every satanic attempt to enter my atmosphere is rejected by divine power, and I walk securely under heavenly protection. I decree that the angels of the Lord encamp around me to deliver me. Therefore, every ambush of darkness, every trap of the enemy, and every sudden attack is exposed and neutralized by the hosts of heaven, assigned to defend me. I declare that no evil shall touch me, and no plague shall come near my dwelling. Therefore, every spirit of affliction, every power of sickness, every arrow of fear, and every curse of destruction is driven far away from me by the authority of God. I proclaim that no curse shall reach me, and no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Therefore, every demonic device, every witchcraft tool, every strategy of the enemy, and every hidden agenda to destroy my peace is dismantled and returned to sender with fire. I decree that no attack shall prevail against me. Therefore, every storm of darkness, every wave of affliction, every season of sorrow, and every night of terror is silenced, and I stand in the calm assurance of divine protection. I declare that no fear shall control me. Therefore, every spirit of intimidation, anxiety, torment, and oppression is cast out by the power of the living God. And I walk boldly in faith and confidence. I proclaim that no darkness shall remain in my life. Therefore, every hidden evil, every secret bondage, and every spiritual shadow is exposed and removed by the light of God's glory. I decree that no bondage shall hold me. Therefore, every chain, every yoke, every cage, and every prison of limitation is broken, and I step into total freedom by divine authority. I declare that no delay shall stop me. Therefore, every hindrance, every resistance, and every satanic roadblock is removed, and I move forward in unstoppable victory through the power of the living God. I declare by the authority of the living God that a new season is opening over my life now, and every old limitation, every former bondage, every past sorrow, and every closed chapter is coming to an end as the Lord who changes times and seasons lifts me into a fresh dimension of glory, victory, and divine favor. I proclaim that new doors of opportunity are opening before me. Therefore, every closed gate, every delayed blessing, every withheld promise, and every blocked pathway is removed by divine authority, and I step boldly into the open place God has prepared for me. I decree that new glory is rising upon me. Therefore, every shadow of shame, every mark of failure, every stain of defeat, and every memory of sorrow is wiped away, and I walk in honor, dignity, and divine light. I declare that new strength flows into my spirit. Therefore, every weakness, every weariness, every fear, and every heaviness that once drained me is replaced with supernatural power and endurance from the Lord. I proclaim that new joy fills my heart. Therefore, every spirit of heaviness, every tear of pain, every memory of loss, and every wound of disappointment is healed, and I rejoice in the goodness of God over my life. I decree that new peace rests upon me. Therefore, every storm, every fear, every anxiety, and every inner battle is silenced, and I stand in the calm assurance of divine victory. I declare that new favor surrounds me. Therefore, helpers locate me. Doors open for me, and divine connections rise for me as I walk in the overflow of God's grace. I proclaim that new victory appears in my life. Therefore, every long-standing battle, every delayed breakthrough, and every stubborn resistance is defeated, and I rise in triumph. I decree that new light shines upon my path. Therefore, every confusion, every wrong turn, and every hidden trap is removed, and I walk in clarity and divine direction. I declare that new life begins in me now. Therefore, every dead place, every broken area, and every forgotten promise is restored by the power of the living God. I declare by the authority of the living God that I am free forever from every chain of darkness, every yoke of bondage, every inherited curse, and every hidden affliction, and no power from my past, my bloodline, or my former seasons shall have authority over my life again, because the Lord himself has broken every shackle and set me at liberty. I proclaim that no chain remains upon my life. Therefore, every lingering bondage, every stubborn oppression, every secret hold, and every unseen captivity is shattered now by divine fire, and I step fully into the freedom prepared for me by the Most High. I decree that no yoke remains upon my shoulders. Therefore, every burden, every weight of sorrow, every heaviness of failure, and every load of shame is destroyed by the anointing of the Lord, who lifts me into strength and victory. I declare that no cage remains around my destiny. Therefore, every prison of limitation, every wall of fear, every boundary of darkness, and every enclosure of delay is broken open, and I move freely into God's promise. I proclaim that no prison remains holding my future. Therefore, every closed door, every locked gate, every spiritual barrier, and every satanic obstruction is removed, and I walk boldly into divine purpose. I decree that no darkness remains in my life. Therefore, every shadow of fear, every hidden evil, every secret attack, and every work of darkness is exposed and destroyed by the light of God. I declare that no curse remains upon my name. Therefore, every spoken word of destruction, every ancestral decree, and every demonic verdict is canceled and reversed by divine authority. I proclaim that no fear remains in my heart. Therefore, every spirit of intimidation, anxiety, torment, and doubt is cast out, and I walk in peace and boldness. I decree that no sorrow remains in my soul. Therefore, every tear, every pain, every memory of loss, and every wound of rejection is healed by the presence of the Lord. I declare that no shame remains in my life. Therefore, every mark of disgrace, every label of failure, and every voice of condemnation is silenced, and I rise in honor and victory through the living God. I declare by the authority of the living God that my victory is permanent and established by divine power. Therefore, no enemy can rewrite my story. No darkness can reclaim my past, and no witchcraft altar can speak against my destiny again. Because the Lord has settled my case and crowned me with triumph, I proclaim that my ground is secured by the hand of the Lord. Therefore, every stolen blessing, every delayed promise, every hijacked opportunity, and every scattered portion of my destiny is restored to me by divine authority. I decree that my life is restored in full measure. Therefore, every area where I suffered loss, shame, or defeat is renewed, and I walk in wholeness, strength, and divine peace. I declare that my destiny is protected by the power of God. Therefore, no evil agenda, no hidden scheme, and no demonic plan can alter what the Lord has written concerning me. I proclaim that my future is bright and filled with divine glory. Therefore, every shadow of fear, every voice of doubt, and every memory of past sorrow is silenced as I move forward in faith. I decree that my joy overflows beyond every limitation. Therefore, every tear of pain, every spirit of heaviness, and every wound of disappointment is healed by the presence of the Lord. I declare that my peace abounds in every area of my life. Therefore, every storm, every inner battle, and every hidden fear is calmed by divine authority. I proclaim that my strength multiplies daily. Therefore, every weakness, every weariness, and every sense of failure is replaced with supernatural power from the Lord. I decree that my light increases continually. Therefore, every shadow of darkness, every hidden obstacle, and every lingering affliction is driven away by divine light. I declare that my glory rises higher than before. Therefore, I walk in honor, favor, and divine victory through the power of the living God. I declare with a grateful heart that I will praise the Lord with all that is within me, for he has delivered me from the hand of darkness, lifted me from the pit, and crowned me with victory, and I proclaim his greatness openly as the God who saves, restores, and defends his own. I proclaim that the goodness of the Lord follows me all the days of my life. Therefore, every season of sorrow, every moment of loss, and every memory of pain is replaced with testimonies of joy and divine favor. I decree that the mercy of the Lord endures forever over my life. Therefore, every mistake of my past, every failure, and every weakness is covered by his grace, and I walk boldly in divine forgiveness. I declare that the power of the Lord reigns over me. Therefore, no authority of darkness, no demonic throne, and no witchcraft power can rule over my destiny. Because the Lord alone is exalted, I proclaim that the name of the Lord is exalted above every name. Therefore, every evil voice, every false accusation, and every demonic decree speaking against my life is silenced by divine authority. I decree that the victory of the Lord is sure in my life. Therefore, every battle is settled, every war is ended, and every opposition is defeated by the hand of God. I declare that the hand of the Lord is strong upon me. Therefore, I am upheld, strengthened, and guided in every step, and no power can remove me from his purpose. I proclaim that the love of the Lord covers me completely. Therefore, no fear, no rejection, and no condemnation can separate me from his presence and favor. I decree that the light of the Lord leads me continually. Therefore, every path of confusion, every wrong turn, and every hidden danger is removed, and I walk in clarity and peace. I declare that the peace of the Lord surrounds me like a river. Therefore, my heart rests in assurance. My mind is settled, and my life reflects the victory of the living God. I declare by the authority of the living God that my victory is sealed in heaven, written in the books of destiny, and established by divine decree. Therefore, no power of darkness, no witchcraft altar, and no satanic agenda can reverse what the Lord has completed in my life. I proclaim that it is finished and settled. Therefore, every lingering battle, every unresolved conflict, and every unfinished struggle is brought to an end by divine authority, and I walk in complete victory. I decree that there shall be no reversal in my life. Therefore, every attempt of darkness to drag me backward, delay my rising, or rewrite my testimony is canceled forever by the hand of God. I declare that there shall be no setback in my destiny. Therefore, every spirit of regression, every pattern of loss, and every cycle of defeat is broken, and I move forward in divine strength. I proclaim that there shall be no delay in my season. Therefore, every hindrance, every resistance, and every satanic roadblock is removed, and I step boldly into God's appointed time. I decree that there shall be no failure in my life. Therefore, every voice of doubt, every word of defeat, and every spirit of limitation is silenced, and I rise in divine confidence. I declare that there shall be no defeat in my destiny. Therefore, every enemy, every opposition, and every hidden force of darkness is crushed under the feet of divine authority. I proclaim that there shall be no shame in my story. Therefore, every mark of disgrace, every label of failure, and every voice of condemnation is erased, and I walk in honor and restoration. I decree that there shall be no bondage in my future. Therefore, every chain, every yoke, and every prison of limitation is broken forever, and I live in total freedom. I declare that I will live in victory forever through the power of the living God, and my life shall reflect His glory, His strength, and His triumph in Jesus' mighty name. May God seal your victory, break every curse, and keep you in peace, and stay connected with us on the Divine Cleansing Secret Channel for daily prayers and breakthroughs in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Break every curse and keep you in peace, and stay connected with us on the Divine Cleansing Secret Channel for daily prayers and breakthroughs in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.